Everyone's talking about AI, and whether you like it or not, it's here to stay. But while plenty of people are worried that AI is a threat to both jobs and businesses, I see it as a huge opportunity, and I'm already using it myself in my freelance web design business a lot. In this video, I'm going to share how I think AI is changing web design and what you need to know so that your web design agency doesn't just survive, but thrives. Hi, thanks for joining. If you're new to this channel, I'm Rich Dean, a web designer and developer, former web agency owner, and author of the book series Start, Grow and Sell Your Web Design Agency. My goal is to help anyone looking to start, grow and sell an agency to save time, earn more money, avoid the common mistakes and pitfalls, and build a thriving and valuable business. Okay, so on to the main topic, starting with number one, is AI going to replace web designers and agencies? Okay, so let's kick this off with probably the biggest question that's on everyone's mind. Is AI going to make web designers and agencies obsolete, at least in the way that we currently think about them? My answer to that is no, and I say that for several reasons that we're going to discuss later in this video. The most important part for me is that AI may remove the need for web design services for some clients, but those clients are probably the ones that you don't want to work with anyway. And again, I'll talk about that more in a second. But there will still be clients who specifically want, need, and value the services of professional web designers and agencies. Those are the clients that you do want to work with. And I'm seeing this myself in my own freelance web design business. I'm as busy as ever, and even though my clients understand that I use AI, and some of them even use AI themselves, they still value not just my experience and expertise, but the human understanding that goes with that. But let's look at why this isn't a new challenge anyway. Number two, the web industry in two strands. The truth is that the web design industry diverged into what I think of as two strands a long time ago, long before AI came along. I've been working in this industry for nearly 26 years now, and I can still remember when web design was exclusive to web designers and agencies. So if you were a client and you wanted a website, you had to go to a professional. You couldn't do it yourself. This meant that web design was expensive, and it meant that not everyone could have a website. But then we saw the emergence of what I think of as do-it-yourself website tools. First, we had CMSs like WordPress and its themes and plugins, but then a whole host of DIY website tools and systems like Wix, Squarespace, page builders and plugins like Divi, Avada, Genesis, WP Bakery, Elementor, and many more. I remember people saying at the time that it would be the death of web design, that web designers and agencies would all be out of work, and that everyone would be able to create websites themselves. But that was nearly 2 decades ago, and it didn't happen that way. Yes, those tools and systems have really helped to democratize web design and have lowered the barrier to entry, but they certainly didn't kill off the web design industry, far from it. They made it a lot more affordable and accessible to many people, and that's a good thing. But they also diverged the industry into two strands. DIY website tools created what I think of as the low-cost, low-quality commodity strand. So if you're a client with a very low or even no budget and you just want a very cheap or quick website, or you're happy to do it all yourself, then those DIY tools are perfect. But as I alluded to earlier, those kind of clients are probably not the ones that you want to be working with. They probably won't ever want to spend any serious money, but more importantly, they'll view a website as a very low or no value commodity. Those kind of clients won't see the value in what you do, but that's okay, because there will still be plenty of other clients who do, and they're the ones in the other strand, the ones who really value expertise and quality. Number three, why clients value expertise. Okay, before we get into this one, I need to ask you a really big favour. We're a fairly new channel, so it will really help us a lot if you could like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and also share this content with anyone else you think could benefit from it. It takes a lot of time to make these videos, so this will really help YouTube to recognise our content, and it will mean we can carry on making helpful videos just like this. Okay, thank you, and back into it. So you might think that if a client can get a website very cheaply or even for free using a DIY tool, then why would they pay for the services of a proper web designer or agency? Well, to start with, lots of clients, particularly businesses, did go down that route, but they quickly realised that there were certain limitations. One was quality. What those DIY tools produced tended to be of a lower standard, and for a lot of clients, especially larger organisations or those that need to present themselves in a certain way, it just didn't align with what they needed. Another limitation was customization. Most DIY tools were limited to working within certain constraints, but most organizations often operate in very unique and specific ways, so they needed websites that were also tailored very specifically to their requirements. Because of this, over time, the web design industry reached a kind of equilibrium. Clients realized they had two choices. If they wanted something basic or they had a limited budget and they were happy to accept perhaps lower quality, they could go down the DIY website builder routes. But if they needed something higher quality and more specific to their needs, then they knew they needed a good web designer or agency. I saw this myself with my own web design agency. Even though we needed to compete with DIY website builders, we still thrived once we knew how to correctly position ourselves in terms of the skills, expertise, and value that we offered. It's that value part that was the most important. Number 4, AI DIY website builders are already here. AI DIY website builders were one of the first and earliest uses of AI in web design, and they've been around for a while now. In many ways, they're a natural evolution of the existing DIY website builders. So existing names like Wix and Squarespace now use AI as part of their website creation process. And even newer entrants like Relume allow users to simply input the type of business they're running, and it will then start to automatically generate content, layouts, and even the visual styles. It's actually quite scary just how good these tools are. And if you don't view them as a direct competitor, then you probably should. But it's important to also look a little bit deeper. Just because these tools are good at producing something quicker than a human, it doesn't necessarily mean that what they produce is better. That's been one of the biggest criticisms of AI since it emerged, that speeding up processes doesn't always mean that the end result is better. The general view is that AI perhaps isn't revolutionizing and replacing humans the way many people originally thought that it would. Instead, it's helping humans to do things quicker and better, but that actually much of the increase in productivity is being hampered by humans still having to spend time correcting or polishing what AI is producing. That's a really important point, and it's another reason why I don't think web designers or agencies should be afraid of being replaced by AI. But you should embrace using it so that you can work faster and better. Perhaps you may even start to use these kinds of AI website builder tools in your own web agency, and I wouldn't blame you. I'm not using them personally in my freelance business, but there are other more important ways that I am using AI. Number 5, how AI can give you web design superpowers. I've mentioned this before in a couple of my other videos, but how I view AI is that it's giving me what I call web design superpowers in my sole freelance business. So to explain what I mean by that, years ago, before AI and when I ran my own web design agency, clients would often come to us with quite complex technical challenges, and we would need to design and develop often quite complex website projects. Now, even though I'm a very good hybrid web designer and developer, there's a limit to my self-taught development skills. So this meant I needed to employ more skilled developers. That was obviously expensive, but even though they were really good at what they did, it was still often challenging to build these complex parts. There was a certain amount of unknown in terms of how we would achieve it, and it would have to take a lot of time with lots of trial and error and testing. But then AI came along and it changed things. I now work on my own as a freelancer, but by using AI, I'm able to develop really complex solutions for my clients on my own and probably a lot quicker, cheaper, and to a much higher standard than I ever could have working on my own. I'm still leading the design and development process. I work with my clients to establish what we need to create, and then I lead the overall design and objective of what we need to achieve. But I'm using AI to almost mesh or enhance my development process, using it to do the heavy lifting and create the overall development structure and core code, which I then adapt and merge into my projects. It's a perfect example of how AI isn't replacing me, but it is instead enhancing my capabilities. That, for me, is the biggest way that AI can and is transforming the web design industry. And it's not just web development where AI can help either. I'm using it in lots of other ways, like helping me to produce company policy documents, researching the market and different trends, planning and structuring my finances, researching new tools and ways of working, and coming up with new strategies and ways to grow my business. There are so many ways AI can be used to boost productivity, save time, and help with the deeper thinking parts of running a business. But it's also important to remember that just because I know how to use AI like this, it doesn't mean that clients do. Number 6, understanding the client tech gap. One more important aspect to finish on is understanding the client tech gap, which has always existed and probably always will. As web designers, developers, and agency owners, we tend to forget just how close we are to technology. We work in the tech industry, so it's very easy to take that for granted and to assume that the rest of the world is just as tech savvy as we are. But that's a big mistake. And if you don't understand that, then you could be missing out on valuable opportunities for growth. This is directly relevant to AI. Everyone's talking about how AI will revolutionize industries and replace jobs, but we also need to remember that not all industries will be affected by AI in the same way, and some will hardly be affected by it at all. Those tend to be the industries that are more manual or physical, so things like trades, i.e. electricians, carpenters or builders, or farmers, sports, gardening, basically anything where the core work is more physical or manual. While we are seeing robots in places like factories and warehouses, we're a long way off seeing robots that can completely replace humans, at least for more skilled tasks like these. So these kinds of industries probably won't be too affected by AI, certainly not in a substantial way, and they're also more likely to have clients who are less tech savvy as well. That's simply because those clients don't use technology in their working lives in the same way that we do. Those are exactly the kinds of clients who will value your services, though. Clients who need a website but don't really want to do it themselves, especially if they don't know how to, so they will still value the expertise of an expert web designer. Okay, so hopefully you found this video useful. If you've enjoyed it, then please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you'd like more tips and insights for how to grow your business, check out my book series, Start, Grow and Sell Your Web Design Agency, which you can buy from Amazon now, and I'll share a link in the description below. And if you'd like to watch even more informative content, then why not check out this video here. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.